What does the NFL draft tell us about the power structure in college football? Welcome into the College Football Show. Appreciate you stopping by. Of course, right here at the Voice of College Football. Thank you so much for your time. It is always appreciated. Would love to see those comments there in the chat as well. Give me a call. The call-in line is in the chat, and we've got a number of things that we love to talk about each and every year, and now has come the time for a couple of those topics, but we will talk about anything that you would like to talk about. So many times people will call and say, hey, do I have to talk about the topic in the title? No, you do not. No, you do not. Those are on rare occasions. We're here Monday through Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, talking college football with you at least those 5 times per week right here at the Voice of College Football. Appreciate you being here. John D'Adamo, bam, coming in here. And of course, you catch John, you catch TJ, and that Michigan contingent at the Voice of College Football every Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern Time for the call-in show. So again, John, TJ, and a host of thousands over on the Michigan channel every Tuesday and Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. And if you missed it, they wrapped up the spring game both live after the spring game on site, on campus, right across from the big house, and then also a week later after the Big Ten Network airing of the spring game. So catch both of those episodes for different reasons. Obviously, you get the juice after the game, and then 1 week later, the analysis after we all watched the Michigan spring game, or at least you may have watched the Michigan spring game. I got to say, my spring game intake was minimal or next to nothing. And I am the guy who watches spring games start to finish. But I think this just entire attitude and therefore atmosphere of taking the spring game off across college football just soured me on watching spring football games. I counted at one point only 12 of the power conferences, 70 teams, only 12 of them were going to have their spring games televised, and most of those were going to be after the fact. In the past, it's been 50, 55, 60 teams out of 70, and I would just line them up one by one. Big Ten afternoon here. Boom. Purdue, Michigan State, Penn State, Ohio State, Michigan. Let's knock out 5 of these. And I'd post all sorts of videos. We'd go live. We'd do it big here at the Voice of College Football for spring game afternoons throughout April, but didn't do it this year. Did not do it this year. I did not watch the Ohio State spring game. I watched a couple plays just prior to the Ohio State show that I had to do with Tony Gerdeman and Steve Hillwagon the next week just to kind of catch up and breeze through it a little bit, but no, not watch the spring games. All right, let's get to a few matters at hand. And once again, it's Michigan Tuesdays and Thursdays, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. And it looked like a blast. I caught much of the show from outside the stadium. They had a big time setup. It looked great. John, TJ, and everybody else having a big time. As we are here, of course, in remote fashion. We've got Tukey G in his customary leadoff position. Tukey G in the 1 spot, of course. We have also David. Good to see you as well. We've got 79 Jed Buck. Karen is here, wishing everyone a happy Monday for everyone here at the Voice of College Football, those sweet football friends. I don't know that we've ever been called sweet football friends before, so we'll take it. Edward is saying it's finally raining in Central Florida. The pond that's behind my development here is dry to the bone. And whatever rain you're talking about, I have not seen any trace of it. And Jackson, yes, we will let everyone know about our Voice of College Football website, already populated with a ton of great articles from Matt Zemek and the crew there. vocfb.com. We'll give you a look here in just a second. I had about 5 topics that I wanted to hit on at some point, a couple of them for today for sure. Maybe we will save a few for later. So first and foremost, of course, coming off the weekend of the NFL draft, is about the SEC and the Big Ten and the power play between the two. forever, meaning for 15 plus years, the SEC has ruled the NFL draft. There was a span of, I believe, 18 consecutive NFL drafts where the SEC won the overall NFL draft in regards to number of players drafted. Then there was a tie a couple years ago. Big Ten SEC tied a couple years ago. That broke the string. And then the SEC was back at it the last year or two. Well, what did it look like? And more importantly, is it just, Urban Meyer once famously said, if you're counting, if you're keeping score in any way, then we want to win. Basically, I think that was involving recruiting rankings. And his point was they keep score in the recruiting rankings, so therefore we want to win the recruiting rankings even. Same thing with the NFL draft here. And it's even more valid because the recruiting rankings are obviously subjective in nature. They're very legitimate, but subjective in nature. If you really want to divide subjective and objective, well, the NFL draft obviously are made by subjective decisions, but the actual numbers that we see are an objective ranking of the best conferences. So let's look at the numbers, and then we will try to make something out of it, because again, the SEC has dominated this. And so who gets drafted? Well, the most talented players get drafted. So generally, the best players in college football get drafted, of course, in some semblance of an order. I heard somebody say the other day about first-round picks, they're overrated, and really I like to see the guys and really look at those second, third, fourth rounders. I get your point. It's very similar to the couple people in my life at points that have said about 3 stars. Give me a bunch of hardworking 3 stars and I'll load up my team and I'll beat your team with your 4 and 5 stars. No, you won't. Now, if you take the greatest 3 stars in the history of mankind and line it up against the 4 and 5 star bus, yes, you will win that game. But on volume, it's not even close. Give me the 4 and 5 stars. You get the 3 stars. I win all those games. Okay, it's the same thing here with the NFL draft. Are all the best players in the first round? Will there be tremendous players that will come out of the 4th and 5th rounds? There will be. But there will just be much less of them. Much less of them. So it was an SEC and Big Ten dominated draft. The SEC did win. We will look at the numbers here. And again, more importantly, what does it mean? I'm guessing some of you are going to tell me that it means nothing. And why did there we go. So this is courtesy The Athletic, so we assume these numbers are correct. And again, I do understand that some of you are going to say, this doesn't mean anything. This has nothing to do with college football. This has nothing to do with scores on the field. It has nothing to do with wins and losses or championships in college football. You are correct on all fronts. Hypothetically, a national championship team could have 0 NFL draft selections. And the worst team in college football could have 15 NFL players drafted. That's possible. It's almost impossible, but it is possible. And yes, there are aberrations out there. If we went through the list of all the schools and their draft selections, every so often you'll see some kind of outlier like, oh, wow, Stanford had 4 guys drafted in the first 50 picks. That's crazy. They sucked again. It happens. But those are such outliers. Yes, this tells us who has the best players. The best players get selected. Combination, best players, most talented players. Best players, most talented players. It's a combination of the two. And yes, it does mean something. Again, I have no issue with any particular college football fan who says, let's say, for example, I'm a Big Ten fan and we have bragging rights right now. We've got 2 consecutive national championships. We perform the best in the playoffs. We have the best. It could be argued. It's not an infallible argument that we have the best top of the conference. Ohio State, Michigan, Oregon, Penn State. We have the best 4 or 5 at the top of a conference. That can be argued. And I think I would take on that argument for the Big Ten on the Big Ten's behalf and saying, I don't care what the NFL draft selections are. Absolutely. All that matters is what's on the field. As college football fans, the wins, the losses, the championships. However, if we're making an evaluation of who has the best talent, I have always said, and it is proven out, that during this 20-year run by the SEC and dominating college football, are they dominating now? No. The SEC is not dominating now. Is it the best conference? Well, we're going to get to that. Maybe. But for years and years and years, it was not even debatable. I used to get on here night after night after night after night and have all sorts of people argue with me that the SEC was overrated. And I used to say, I can't wait for the day when we can have the argument about best conference. Now, that day has finally arrived. It arrived about a year ago when we could finally say we can have a legitimate argument. Before that, that was bad for business. I couldn't have an argument. It was a joke. The argument was a complete joke about best conference. It is no longer a joke. It's a legitimate discussion. It's a legitimate debate. Now, again, when it comes to actual football on the field, this doesn't mean anything. When it comes to talent evaluation, this means a lot. It's an indicator. We appreciate David West stopping by. Appreciate the contribution there. Ann Arbor is a great college football city. That cannot be argued. I wholeheartedly agree with David there. So back to this measurement. So our first measurement is that the SEC had 79 players drafted in the Big Ten 71, and then it drops off considerably after that. And we saw this coming. Even a couple of years ago, once we knew Oklahoma and Texas were going to be added to the SEC and that the Big Ten was adding the 4 from the West Coast, I and others started to do breakdowns surrounding the NFL draft, where I looked at the NFL draft and said, okay, this is where it stands right now, conference versus conference, but look at what's coming. Once you add in Oklahoma, Texas, Oregon, Washington, USC, UCLA, this is what it does. It takes all these away from the Big 12. And yes, the Big 12 did add a bunch of schools, but those schools do not have the NFL players that the schools that we just mentioned. And then, of course, the Pac-12 went away. So that's more for the other conferences. The ACC is bulked up in a way, but not significantly in regards to this measurement. When you add SMU, Stanford, and Cal, your NFL draft numbers are not going to skyrocket. So this is what it is right now. The SEC had 79 players drafted, the Big Ten 71. What it does not show us there is that the SEC has 16 teams and the Big Ten has 18. So there's actually a larger disparity between the two leagues in terms of total draft selections. 79-71 SEC. And then if you go 16 divided by 71, you've got about, or 18 divided by 71 for the Big Ten, then you've got about 4 per team, almost exactly 4 per team. So you could subtract 8 from the Big Ten number. If you were going to subtract the average number, that'd be 4 per team for the Big Ten, subtract the 8, and really it's 79-63. Or we could do it per average team and do the math. 16 divided by 79, you got about 5 per team versus the Big Ten's 71 divided by the 18. There we see the ACC with 17 teams and 42 selections. And the ACC for years and years and years had made life difficult on the Big Ten during the NFL draft, having many years more players selected from the ACC versus the Big Ten. Many seasons, no, the Big Ten would have more than the ACC. But of course, the SEC was always number one. Best players recruited out of high school. 3 to 4 years later, transition and become the players that are selected in the NFL draft. All you've had to do, and this has been a common theme that I've talked about for at least 10 years, look at the recruiting rankings, look at the NFL draft. There's perfect, almost perfect synergy for the SEC. Recruiting rankings, productive college football players and teams, and then they get the most drafted. Then the next question we got to ask is we see the Big 12 come in with 31. They've got 16 teams. So there's your direct comparison in regards to 16 team conferences. The SEC was 79, the Big 12 with 31. So NFL draft weekend started with a bang for the Big 12 and the ACC. Of course, Cam Ward, Miami quarterback, drafted number 1. And then right off the board, number 2 is a Big 12 player. And Travis Hunter from Colorado going to Jacksonville. So the Big 12 of the ACC, that's the bragging rights right there. They had the top 2 players selected. And then, of course, it just falls off a cliff. The independents, I believe, are all Notre Dame. That would make sense. I can't imagine UConn or anybody else stepped in with anything. So Notre Dame with 7, I believe. And then it's just the American Conference with that 6 number. Ashton Genty, of course, was off the board in the first 5 picks. He was the big group of 5 rep, of course. And then there were hardly any other players from other conferences. So this sport is becoming more and more and more and more haves versus have-nots. And so the second question would be, okay, quality of player, quality of selection. There have been other times in which let's say the Big Ten was close to the SEC in number of drafted players, but the SEC dominated the early rounds. And then the Big Ten caught up with a bunch of 5th and 6th rounders. That was really not the case here, although the SEC did win at 15-11. 15 for the SEC in the first round and 11 for the Big Ten. So the Big Ten and the SEC accounted for 26 of the 32 in the first round. So the SEC has a deeper league, a better league. This is how I balance out that judgment. This is my perspective on this, because some of you would argue it doesn't matter what Vanderbilt does. It doesn't matter what Rutgers does. Who cares if your 15th best team in your conference is better than their 15th best team? Who cares? Well, I care. I think it's part of the evaluation. I will say, though, to me, this is just a matter of opinion. I am not saying that this is fact or law. This is just my perspective. I think there's a balance between the 2 philosophies. So the 2 philosophies are basically only the upper tier, only the elites count. They're the ones playing for the championships. They're the ones people watch. Just past the first 4 or 5 teams, who cares? Okay, so there's that camp. Then there's the camp that says, nope, they all count exactly the same. You count each spot, and if you get the 16th, your 16th best team is better than their 16th best team, then that should count just as much as your champion's better than their champion. Okay, I don't agree with the extreme of either one of those points. I believe it's a balance. The entire league counts. All the teams count. They're in the conference. However, I think that there should be more consideration given to the best teams, the elite teams, the teams that are vying for championships. When Ohio State beat Texas, that meant a lot. That meant more than Alabama going to Camp Randall Stadium in the middle of September, defeating Wisconsin 42-10. It meant more. It told us more. Those might have been the 2 best football teams in America. They probably were. In my estimation, they were. I am not going to go to bat for Texas, for sure, being the 2nd best team in college football in 2024, but that's my lean. Texas over Oregon, Notre Dame, Penn State, Georgia. I think those 5 or 6 teams had an argument for 2nd best team in America. And I could argue any of them, and I could argue against any of them. I would lean Texas as the number 2 team in college football. So when Ohio State beat Texas, yes, that was more important than a bunch of other games. And again, based on my quick scan of the conferences, and somebody correct me if I'm wrong, the Big Ten won 6 versus the SEC 4. I believe that's the count. Ohio State beat Texas and Tennessee. USC beat Texas A&M and LSU. Illinois beat South Carolina. And there was one more in there somewhere. Thought there was one more in there somewhere. That's 5. I'm only getting 5. Thought I counted 6. 6 for the Big Ten. 6 for the Big Ten. Michigan beat Alabama. 6 for the Big Ten. The 4 I got for the SEC. Alabama beat Wisconsin. Missouri beat Iowa. Texas beat Michigan. And there's somebody out there. LSU beat UCLA. 6-4 Big Ten. I don't know when the last time the Big Ten won a season series against the SEC. It doesn't happen very often. Maybe they did at some point like 3-2 or 4-3. But usually the SEC has won almost 65% of those matchups. So that's my rundown. That's my perspective. That's my take on the SEC versus the Big Ten and the NFL draft in terms of evaluation of college football. I have no issue with anyone who says, hogwash, get it off my screen. I don't want to hear about it. Doesn't matter. These guys are pros now. They're off to playing for the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Cincinnati Bengals, and that didn't win any games. Got it. I understand that perspective. You can have a great college football team. Well, you can't. You can't have a great college football team and not produce NFL players. You can play above your heads. You can be the Wisconsin of the 1990s, 2000s. You can be the Michigan State of the Mark D'Antonio era. You can be better than your talent would indicate and play over your heads, but you cannot win big without talent. So the talent tells us a lot, and the SEC, I believe, is the best conference top to bottom. I believe that the Big Ten certainly had bragging rights this past year for a number of reasons. Ohio State won a national championship. Michigan won a national championship the year before. It was 6-4 Big Ten over the SEC. So I believe that the Big Ten had the bragging rights head to head. I think that's undeniable. Now, if you add it all together, the Big Ten only went 16-16 against the Power Five, and the SEC was 19-13. The SEC played better out of conference than the Big Ten did. And as you well know, I go much deeper than that. So I just didn't take 19-13 versus 16-16 and say the SEC played better top to bottom. We went through all of it. Check out the videos. All right, so that's it. That's the NFL draft take there. And certainly give me a ring if you want to talk anything with the NFL draft. I produced a video and posted it yesterday about Shadur Sanders and his plummet to spot number 144, which I don't find it comical. I don't find it amusing. I don't find it tragic. I don't find it anything. I do find it interesting, and I will say that I only posted a video because I was prompted to by somebody you know. I was prompted to cut a video, and I thought, okay, I don't have a whole lot to say about this, but when it was all said and done, I had about 17 minutes to say about it. So I think Shadur Sanders now has the opportunity to show that he's going to be a teammate and be mature and going to learn and be coachable. Or he can continue to show signs of being immature and not coachable, and his career will go the way of Johnny Manziel. David, thank you so much for the contribution. We appreciate you. I bought a few pairs of Michigan Players exclusive sneakers. That is phenomenal. If you're into that sort of thing, very cool. All right. So as you well know, for 2 consecutive weeks, going on 3, we do a late night call-in show here at the Voice of College Football that is not scheduled. It is not on the weekly schedule because we are here Monday through Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern time, but we've got one time in which we go live late night and you make the selection. So the first person who gives me a day and a time, we will be here for the late night call-in show. A day and a time out of anyone. And if you are the quickest and care the most, then you will leave that day and time. And that's when we will go with our late night show this week. Okay. For the second time in 3 weeks, Tukey G takes the honors. He made the decision. There we go. Friday at 11 Eastern. Then we've got I Bleed Orange with Friday at 10 Eastern. So I will see you Friday night at sometime between 10 and 11 Eastern. You will see the notification go out. How about that? We're going to, of course, talk football here, as we have since day one and since the beginning of this show. But I do want to mention something. We've had a very odd run of subscriber numbers that have been very odd concerning our channel just here in the last couple of months. So I would just ask that if you are not subscribed, please subscribe. It's easy to do. It's free. It's all those good things, and you help us grow and build the channel. David coming in with this one. Burks had something important to say, by the way. Okay. We will look for Burks. Burks is my cop of sorts when it comes to one annoying caller. So this is what happened again for the umpteenth time, is we've got one particular annoying caller who doesn't know anything about football. And let me be very plain. You do not need to know anything about football to call this show. I want you to be interested in football. That would be kind of silly for you to call the Voice of College Football if you're not interested in the sport. But if you don't know anything, if you say, I just started watching last season, I really don't know what's going on, no problem. You are welcome here. I will not speak down to you in any such way, because you could bring up a million topics that I know nothing about. So if you know nothing, that's fine. This individual knows nothing, and they have quite the arrogant way about them. And that's even okay. Except when you spew on unfactual bits of information just over and over and over, and you're obnoxious about it, and you just repeat yourself a million times. Okay, I can even put up with that. I can always just cut the call short. But what got me is what Burks is alluding to, where he says, this person was promoting their show. So we have all sorts of shows connected to the Voice of College Football here. And I'm not even talking about our shows. Like, we got our buddy Jeffrey, we got Jackson with the Jacksonian, we've got Will and D. We've got a lot of great people here that are connected to the Voice of College Football, that have been watching for a long time, loyal, support. When they get on here, absolutely, please promote your show. Would love to help your audience as much as I possibly can and all of that. But do not take those liberties to promote your stupid show. And if you do that once and you're not aware of my little rule, that's fine. I'm not going to go crazy. But when I let you know, do not promote your show here. I'll promote your show if I deem that I would like to promote your show, but then that individual did it about 10 times, and that was that was just enough. So we will welcome that person back in about a month. But before that, no, I don't think my tolerance can take it. Minnie's here. Excuse me. Pit Snipe Husker. Hit me, George. What's up? George is here. That's what that means. Online is here. The belt championship matters. Oh boy, let's not start a belt championship. Edward, I had to look at my subscription to see if there was a show today. Yes, we've had a very odd situation that we've never encountered in all the years of this channel concerning subscriptions. So please check if you're subscribed, and please do subscribe and encourage others to do the same. George's car broke. It's the torque converter on a 2004 Ford Taurus. Is anybody here a transmission specialist? Because I have a freaking question. All right, gearheads, step up, help out George. I bleed orange 117 days until college football, and David West is letting us know. Burks ended that caller's career. Burks did it. We enjoy Burks, and we appreciate his support. And you as well there, David West. Thank you for the contribution. Okay, so we're clear on the NFL draft, correct? Boom. Anything else, you can please call. I will leave the call-in line in the chat. Next thing I want to get to concerns coaches' rankings. I have not ranked the coaches yet, but I will. I thought that leading into the week, we would do just kind of a full week of coaches' rankings. Not that I'm going to sit here and talk about coaches' rankings for a full week, but during the course of this week, I will be unveiling my coaches' rankings. So each and every offseason, if you're not aware, if you've not been around in the past, each and every offseason, we unveil our coaches' rankings where we rank. We don't do like here are the top 10 coaches or the top 20 coaches. No, we rank all the coaches. We rank all the coaches in the power conferences. And I was going through my notes and I saw that I actually even ranked all the group of 5 coaches maybe 2 or 3 years ago. So I know somebody's going to stop by either live or somebody's going to stop by watching the replay, and they're going to believe that these are the current coaches' rankings. Please don't make that mistake. These are not the current coaches' rankings. These are the 2024 excuse me, coaches' rankings. And I could use my contacts. All right, so just to look at the talent pool that left the sport at this time last year, and just to give some perspective on where we were going into last season, because things can change rather quickly, not just with teams and programs, but by extension, the head coach, in terms of our perception of how good is this guy. Because we've had so much talent leave the sport in recent years. And this last offseason, meaning in 2024 going into 2023 going into 24, of course, Nick Saban, the greatest of all time, Jim Harbaugh, Jimbo Fisher. Harbaugh, of course, had just won a national championship and 3 consecutive Big Ten titles. Jimbo Fisher, Pat Fitzgerald, 17-year run at Northwestern. Chip Kelly, of course, to become an OC. Mel Tucker had his fiasco at Michigan State. Dino Babers finally got fired at Syracuse. Dana Holgorsen ousted at Houston. Tom Allen at Indiana, where he has now been the defensive coordinator going on a second team in 2 years. Jeff Hafley at Boston College going back to the NFL, and Zach Arnett at Mississippi State. And that's where I had those guys ranked currently. And I'm sure I would have had Harbaugh ranked higher, but that was a number 4 from before he won the national championship. That was the season before. So you got Trent Bray at Oregon State. Now they just went 5-7. What are we going to do with him? We shall see. Got Deshaun Foster at UCLA. They went 5-7. Fran Brown at Syracuse. Well, I'm going to have to give him some credit right there, even though I'm a bit cautious on the Fran Brown success at Syracuse at 10-3. I think it was very much tied to quarterback and receivers. Now, to Fran Brown's credit, he went out and got a quarterback that was one of the best, one of the 10 or 15 best in the country. Clark Lee at Vandy, of course, he's going to be credited with this outstanding season out of Vandy, 7-6 with a bowl win. Troy Taylor at Stanford, well, he's gone. So we got to replace Troy Stanford with Frank Reich and make a judgment call on Frank Reich. Tony Elliott at Virginia went 5-7 this past year, so he'll probably stay close to the same. Poor Ryan Walters at Purdue. It only went 2 years for him. He's gone. He's out. I don't even know where Ryan Walters went. He's coordinating somebody's defense, I would think. Kenny Dillingham. Now, he's going to be a high riser here from 62 to we shall see. Justin Wilcox, floundering at Cal. This guy's been floundering forever. And I thought Justin Wilcox was a great hire at Cal, considering the defenses that he had built at places like Tennessee and Wisconsin and USC. Justin Wilcox is not doing a good job at Cal. Does he get the resources? Maybe not. Jeff Lebby at Mississippi State. Of course, he's just starting, but wow, it was a disaster last year. First winless season in the SEC and first 2-win season at Mississippi State in over 20 years. Brent Key doing a decent job at Georgia Tech. Scott Satterfield at Cincinnati. They were a little bit better last year. They went from 3-9 to, I believe, 5-7, or were they 4-8? Brent Pry at Virginia Tech. As we go up the list with Jake Dickert, who's now at Wake Forest. Billy Napier, look at that. 51st rated going into last season. Dead man walking, and we'll have to give him some credit for what he did at Florida the last 6 or 7 weeks of the season, now going into the offseason. Brent Brennan, his Arizona team was awful. Awful. Terrible. Not competitive. Neil Brown went 6-6, but he was ousted at West Virginia after he had that 9-4 season. That was smoke and mirrors, bad schedule, easy schedule. Kurt Cignetti at Indiana. Wow. Meteoric rise after that performance. So what I apparently had done, well, I've got the Kurt Cignetti at 11-1. So anyway, I'm going to have to go ignore the notes because it looks like I kind of haphazardly went through this. I don't know what happened there. So I could usually point out, okay, where did I stop on the notes? So the notes need to be updated. That's fine. And then I will go into my rankings. Dave Aranda at Baylor had a bounce back year, as did Kalani Sitake at BYU, of course. Joey McGuire, Texas Tech, had a decent year, and they are primed to possibly do something at Texas Tech this year. Be looking out for the Red Raiders in the Big 12. Manny Diaz at Duke. Manny Diaz has taken a lot of crap through the years. He was just another one in the line of marginal Miami coaches. He wasn't any worse than any of them. Then he went and coached defense, which is what he does best. And he came back to Duke and he fell right in line with what Mike Elko was doing there. Nice season out of Manny Diaz at 9-4. There's Dion at 47. Now, hey, say what you will about Dion, but he is better than the 47th best coach in college football. Shane Beamer, he had a nice bounce back. Pat Narduzzi, I know he went 7-6, but that was a lousy 7-6. Willie Fritz at Houston, heck of a run at the end of his tenure at Tulane. Sam Pittman at Arkansas, he's on his last leg, probably. Mike Locksley at Maryland. Of course, they bottomed out last year. They were really bad. Hugh Freeze at Auburn. Come on. Going 5-7 at Auburn with all that you're given. Eli Drinkwitz continues to rise up the ranks. 52 up to 40 after they went 11-2. Now you tack on a 10-3, and he's going to look much better. David Braun performed the miracle the first season at Northwestern, not so much this past year. Mario Cristobal, okay. I don't know that he's going to move much. You should go 10-3 at Miami. Greg Schiano at Rutgers, heck of a job. Bill O'Brien at Boston College steps in, does a nice job. Bill O'Brien can coach football. That's all there is to it. Brett Bielema at Illinois, nice season for sure. If Brett Bielema can continue to do in the future what he's done these 3 seasons at Illinois, 8-5, 5-7, 10-3, you're not going to win every year at Illinois. Brett Bielema can coach. Excellent coach. Gus Malzahn, well, of course, he went the Chip Kelly route to become a coordinator. So he's going to be out. And I will have the dubious distinction. I will have the privilege, once again, of being able to rank Scott Frost as a head coach. I don't know if maybe I can make up a number that's like 10 lower than everyone else. Sonny Dykes, Jed Fish, Sharon Moore. Be interesting to try to rank him because they had a bad season, but they finished strong. And of course, he did step in when Harbaugh was not there in the national championship run and won big, big games. Marcus Freeman, of course, is going to skyrocket. Brent Venables, not so much. Matt Rule, probably pretty much in the same spot. We'll see. Matt Campbell, I've got a ton of respect for Matt Campbell. Dave Clawson has stepped away. Excellent, excellent coach. PJ Fleck continues to do a nice job at Minnesota. Jeff Brom, Kirk Ferentz. I'm thinking at this, we're talking about current coaching performance. We're not talking about your resume, not talking about your legacy. I got to think at this point, Brom and Fleck have surpassed Kirk Ferentz. Lance Leipold, heck of a job at Kansas, although they only had a 5-win season. Dave Doran at NC State, they were down this past year. Mac Brown is, of course, out. I will have the interesting challenge and task of ranking Bill Belichick without him coaching a game in college football. Chris Kleiman, heck of a job at Kansas State. James Franklin, say what you will about not winning big games. They were tied with 2 seconds left in the national semifinal. Mike Gundy, what happened? What Oklahoma State? Am I missing some? Oh, Florida State. Florida State. Florida State's the king. Florida State is the king of pathetic performance from last season, but Oklahoma State's, they're right there as well. So Mike Gundy, I know there's a lot of respect for Gundy. I like him. Pretty much goes 8-4, 8-4, 8-4 forever. I've had some Oklahoma State fans argue with me when I've said they basically go 8-4 just repeatedly. No, they're better than that. Go to the record. Go to Mike Gundy's record at Oklahoma State. It is almost a perfect 8-4. Mike Elko at Texas A&M. The record does not indicate how good they were. Luke Fickell at Wisconsin. Man, I gave him the benefit of the doubt for one marginal season. But man, now it's a bad 7-6 followed by an even worse 5-7. And the offense is a joke. And man, the roster quality of Wisconsin has just plummeted. Mark Stoops, he's got to take a big hit. Josh Heupel's pretty much sitting in the right place. Dan Lanning, of course, continues to build at Oregon. Lincoln Riley's got to take a bit of a hit. Lane Kiffin doing a heck of a job at Ole Miss. Jonathan Smith, a little bit too high for him, of course, considering the Michigan State situation last year. He did about as well as many expected, but he did not back up his number 9 ranking in college football. Sark, he goes up. Norvell, I don't know what to do with Norvell. We'll see where he lands. It's going to be a tumble. Ryan Day could be argued as the best. Kyle Whittingham, bad year for Utah as they were supposed to be dominant in the Big 12. Brian Kelly, this is how weak the coaching fraternity is right now in college football. It's not good. The coaching list is not what it used to be, because the guys that might be the best coaches have not accomplished anything yet. You know, we could go down these rankings and grab some guys like Mike Elko, Lance Leipold. They might be better coaches than the guys with names near the top, like Brian Kelly. I'm thinking Brian Kelly, Lincoln Riley, huge disappointments. They're still really good at what they do, but you almost have to rank Brian Kelly. You almost have to keep, I'm not going to drop him from 4 to like 22. He's going to be in the top 5 or 6 or 7 coaches in college football, but he's not succeeding. This sport has lost in the last 6 or 7 years Nick Saban, Jim Harbaugh, Urban Meyer, Chris Peterson, David Shaw, Gus Malzahn, Jimbo Fisher, Paul Chryst. I know I'm missing some guys that were decent. If not, look at Chip Kelly's early career. Nobody's going to stand and argue that Chip Kelly's one of the best coaches in college football now. Of course, he's not a college football coach, I understand, but he just was. But very few coaches have accomplished what Chip Kelly did at Oregon. All right, so then at the end, we got Kalen DeBoer, Dabo Swinney, and Kirby Smart. That was again, rankings last year. Got to go through my notes. I got to think about it, because what I'm coming up with here is I can only justify ranking 3 of these guys at number 1. And who do you think those 3 guys are? I'm sure there are some great comments here. Matthew Miller letting us know that Mike Norvell is basically as good as his quarterback, Jordan Travis. 10-3, 13-1. Anybody else? Awful. Yes, Bill Belichick. Going to have a tough time rating him. Okay, Rowan, if you're looking at my ratings, again, these are a year ago. Mark, are you looking coaching or wins? I don't know what that means. More 31. These are not the rankings for 2025. We are taking a look back a year ago. 5 Adam. You guys either just showed up or you were not listening to me. I knew this was going to happen. These were a year ago. Yes, nobody listens. Thank you, Matthew. Yes, Kurt Signetti at 52 is surprising and ridiculous because that's not his ranking. Okay. All right. I made a mistake in thinking that I could communicate that effectively because I just thought it would be interesting to look at a year ago. I thought it would be interesting to look at a year ago, and then I'll work on the rankings this week and I'll unveil them. So yes, Kurt Signetti is most likely going to rise from 52 to, 51. Okay. Somebody's going to give me a comment about that. All right. So coaches rankings. There's only 3 guys. Yeah. There are only 3 guys that I can justify being number 1, and I am not real confident in ranking any of them number 1 because I don't think that they would have ranked at number 1 years ago. Here they are. Ryan Day just won a national championship, might have the best program in college football. However, he's lost to his rival 4 consecutive years. It's difficult for me to rank Ryan Day number 1 in the sport because he had the best team and the best talent, and they had a good season. Talking about regular season, they were fine, except for one game. He did go on a devastating roll to close out the season. But man, there's definitely an argument for Ryan Day. He's got the best record in the sport. He's got the national championship. The program just rolls. Well, speaking of rolls, of course, you got Kirby Smart. If I do not rank Kirby Smart number one, if I rank, as I did, Ohio State number one and Georgia number two, I clearly stated this is more about Georgia than it is Ohio State. Ohio State didn't necessarily elevate to number one. Georgia dropped from number one. And it would be the same thing with Kirby Smart. If they would have made the national semifinal and played extremely well, they did win the SEC, but man, their play last season dropped considerably. And it's difficult for me to say a guy is the number one coach in college football that can't keep his team on the rails behaviorally. We're not talking about guys going out doing like dumb, stupid, harmless things. No, they're out doing dumb, stupid, harmful things. They're acting like complete morons, and that at some point you can't expect these head coaches to keep track of 105 dudes that have their own agenda, their own will to do whatever they want. And now they got money. Yeah, you can't keep all those guys in line all the time. But when it gets to the degree of 25 moving violations of a dangerous and fatal extent, then it comes back on you. You're making $13 million a year. Find a solution. I'm not saying it's easy, but that's why you make the big bucks. So that's Day, that's Smart. And then the other guy, of course, it's more legacy involved, but he is, with Saban out of the way, got the best coaching legacy of anybody in the sport right now. And it looks like his program is on an uptick. And for all the people that criticized Dabo Swinney about the transfer portal, and I was not one of them, I was on the fence. I wasn't on the fence. I just basically said, we're going to have to see how this plays out. It doesn't look good because this looks like it has to be a component of your football program going forward. And Dabo Swinney said, nope, it's not. And of course, Clemson is not adding football players, but if you noticed, they don't lose anyone. They have lost one good football player, Andrew Makuba. Maybe I'm forgetting somebody, but they've lost one good football player. And so maybe he's the best coach in college football. I hear this term culture all the time, and there's really only one guy that I know has a culture, and that's Dabo Swinney. I'm not saying that the rest of them don't, but it's just not obvious to me. It's just not, I can't really define their culture. I can't look at them. Besides, we hire really talented, we acquire extremely talented players, and we teach them football, and we hope they're good young men, and we try to win championships. We work hard. That's our culture. Well, that's just about everybody's culture. Dabo Swinney has a culture at Clemson. He's not out there grasping for the best athletes all the time. All right, folks, welcome into the Voice of College Football. We got our buddy George stopping by.
Oh my God, am I on camera?
Oh, you are.
Oh shit. I'm never ready for this. Hey, listen, this is called ASMR. I don't know what it means, but listen.
I don't know if we're ready for you, George.
Listen. Oh shit. Okay. It's just a certain sound. It triggers people. I was just saying how good
You did that
Dabo
well.
is. I know I did, huh? He's a good man. Hey, look at this old rag I'm wearing.
That's good.
See?
Oh, is this you got the tags on?
I won't take them off. I got 3 of these jerseys are all brand new. I keep going, this old rag.
Pretty cool. It's nice. It's a good look.
I know.
Black or blue?
It's black, pure, deep, dark black.
It's a good look.
That's blue.
that is blue. Yeah. That's a good.
I'm preparing for our national championship.
It appears so. You're stocking up on merch during the off season.
No, it's that guy from that Miami channel. He sent me $1,000 worth of shit, man. I gave my brother the shoes. The shoes were like $150. My kid already owns a pair of those shoes. My kid said, "Dad, do you know what those shoes are?" His name's Joel. Joel. Joel.
Joel on a
Coop,
Miami.
Coach Coop. Yeah, you've talked to Coop before.
I know who Coach Coop
I think he's been on your channel, Coop.
Yes, I know who Coach Coop is.
Yeah.
He's sending you Florida merchandise.
So it's some guy on his channel.
Oh, okay.
It's some guy on his channel. He jokes around with us all the time, and he makes bets with us, and he actually pays off, you know? My God. Everybody in my family is decked out in Gator gear over one bet, you know?
Well, that's very cool. Well,
and he doesn't make you bet. He doesn't make you bet money. Like if I lose, I have a $500 bet with him right now. If Florida State wins 7 games, I have to sing the Florida State fights on camera. But if they don't win 7 games, he sends me $500, you know? So he doesn't make you bet cash. You can bet just defecate on yourself or whatever he asks you to do.
Well,
sing the Florida State fight song, you know, something.
I was about to say, where can I find this guy? But the last bet, I don't know that I can go in for that one.
He's on every show. He's on every Coach Coop show. He doesn't miss one. On every show, Mark, he does like $500 for this. On every Coach Coop show, he's a Florida State fan. He does like $500 worth of super chats. He's been doing it for years. He owns a business. He's rich.
Yeah, so we have the best community in college football. We do not have the richest one.
No.
We don't.
We need one rich guy.
Yeah.
We do.
We'll take a backup.
Hopefully it'll be me. Hey, let me win the lottery and see what happens. I'll be doing like 3 $1,000 super chats just for the hell of it.
We're
just to say Miami sucks or something. Depending on the lottery.
And say I'm real confident here.
Hey, what if I find the right bite? Look, it could be the right bicentennial quarter I identify, or a 1904 penny. Who knows? I'm gonna get me. I know it's coming.
Here. Doesn't have to be a rich guy.
It keeps me positive.
Can be a rich girl.
Mark. Yeah. Mark. Yeah. My torque converter on my 2004 Ford Taurus, which I consider a brand new car, it went out, you know? And my kid has fixed this car for me forever. It's like brand new, the car. And my kid goes, "Dad, we have a problem. This is serious shit, Dad." And then he showed me the engine is turned sideways and the engine's mounted on the side of the engine. I'm like, what am I looking at? So I would like to call a military tribunal and indict everybody, all these engineers, whoever did this. I think they should be brought up on charges because there's no reason for this. You don't have to do this to people. There's no way to get to this part. You have to like disassemble the whole car to get to it, you know?
That's how they like to make them, so nobody can fix them.
But we're gonna do it. He's gonna do it for me. You know, just going to take a month or so.
Is this the
Unbelievable
axle we're talking about?
No, it's called a torque. It's called a torque converter. What can you compare a torque converter to? It's that one guy on your team when it's 3rd and 15. You say, "Let's go! We can do this." That's a torque converter.
Yeah, I thought for a second we were going off the football field. I didn't want to try to make any guesses there.
Mark, I'm not lying. I've told you a lot of stories about faith and goodness and stuff in the past, but
yes,
a week ago, I had a toothache. I only have like 5 teeth left and false teeth other than that, you know? And I looked at this one tooth and I'm like, oh, fuck, I'm in trouble. And I make a dentist appointment, right? And then I really, really look at it and I go, oh, shit, I'm in trouble. Immediately, I think jaw cancer or mouth cancer is like, go ahead, have another dip of Copenhagen, you know? Let me know how that works out for you, you know? Smoke another cigarette, talk some more shit. So I'm like, this is cancer of the fucking mouth, the lip or the jaw or something, right? So for 10 days, I've been doing oregano oil mixed with coconut oil and clove oil mixed with coconut oil and hydrogen peroxide and baking soda. Just dumb shit, right? Because I learned this from my ancestors, and it's gone, Mark. That the tooth doesn't even hurt no more. So I'm going to go and get this dumbass tooth pulled out the other day. But I remember this doctor in Mexico. He had a cancer clinic. And to go there, you had to agree the first day we're pulling all your teeth out because nothing will kill you faster than a bad tooth. You follow me? You just can't have that poison dripping into your body year after year, you know, because you can go a long time before it totally erupts and kills your ass, you know? So it's not even dental hygiene we're talking about. It's like eating right and not putting a big old thing of Copenhagen in your mouth every 5 minutes, you know? But I think I'm going to make it, dude. It's 99% better. I know how to cure everything, but I don't want to get in trouble with the American Medical Association. Can we do a side channel on that? How to Cure Everything by George?
You can start a channel anytime you'd like. George, you got a built-in
audience. Yeah, I know.
It sounds like a lot. Elsewhere.
I could, but it sounds like a lot of work. I'm not willing to commit to that.
It's not a whole lot of work. Hey, if I could pull it off to some degree, then.
Hey, I met you, and then Uncle Lou, and then Pigskin Pete, and then there's a Catfish doesn't do it anymore. Alonzo 1219 don't do it anymore. There's a lot of guys have gone by the wayside. Good guys, I loved them all. Yep. But I decided early on in the first few weeks of it, I'm not going to do nothing for my health myself because that requires commitment and dedication. I'm just going to help other guys by, you know, doing what I'm doing.
Yeah,
I dedicate all my love to you and Pigskin Pete and Coach Coop and anything I can do to help you because you're good guys. And I appreciate what you do. Don't say it's not a lot of work. It is a lot of work. It's hard.
I put some time into it. That's for sure. I think people have recognized that. But I appreciate all the comments, George. You are the #1 commenter.
Fanatics. Got that hologram. I should cut that off. I'm going to have to watch the thing eventually.
You do whatever you want with that thing. If you want to wear the tag around, if I drop the name Mini Pearl, nobody's going to know what I'm talking about.
You know, one of the funniest things I've seen in a while, I know Mini Pearl, the funniest thing I've seen lately was when Cam reacted to my comment. That was funny shit. I'm like, yeah, it's a good shit, Cam. Good job. every comment I make on the Miami channel, it's meant to get other comments on my comment. You know?
Oh, you get them riled up.
Just say something
Take the
silly.
bait. They take the bait.
And on a more serious side, I can't believe Cam Ward went first in the draft. I just can't believe it. I mean, I'm not totally stupid, man. Every time you hike the ball to this guy, it's like he wants to be the show. Like, watch me. Watch what fancy shit I can do. Oh, I can't wait. I can't wait. I can't wait till he gets the NFL. It's like some 375-pound guy's going to fucking crush him. Like, go and dance around for one more second. You better throw that ball. You got 2 seconds to decide. You don't have 5 seconds to run around in the backfield and act silly. God, that's a shame. Miami could have won the national championship if he'd have just stood there and threw the ball, but no. He wants to run around and act all pretty in the backfield. Like, can you see my curls coming out of the back of my helmet? Whatever. I don't take him serious. And then he sat out half the bowl game and let him lose. I don't really like him that much. I think Shadur Sanders should have won it.
I wanted to see Cam Ward have to play one of the
Shadur should have been the #1 pick. Cam should have went in the 7th round. That's how I feel about it.
That could be slightly extreme. Maybe there's some bias there, possibly.
No, I don't know. You're right. They're both the same. They're both showmen, man. Graham Mertz was the best quarterback in the draft. It's
George,
true. It was an odd year. It's true.
You're being called a sweetheart.
I'll take it. Oh, it's from a girl. That's even better. I love it when a girl says that. I thought it was a guy at first, but thank you, Minnie. I am a sweetheart. Except I'm done with sucking up to girls. You know, I did that for 50 years. All I ended up with was 4 boys and a girl.
You got 5 kids.
That's all I got out of it. I have no wives, but I have 4 sons and a daughter.
I just see the one roaming around once in a while.
I have a 60-year-old. Oh, no, there's 3 or 4 of them that come and go. But my brother called me yesterday. He's 64 years old and told me about this hot date he's going on. She's 60. I'm like, are you serious, man? Chill out. Relax. Enjoy your fucking old age. I can't even imagine. He's 64 and he's dating this, and they're all rich. You know what I mean? He owns a condo and she owns 3 condos, and they live on golf courses, and that's what they do. I'm like, I want to be in a country with a hunting dog and a couple kids, man. Dating? Are you serious?
Well, there's a few different ways to play that, George. So you're going one path and he's going the other. So it sounds like that's what he wants to do.
That's true. When I need someone to refinance my farm, I'll be glad they're there, you know?
Let me get to this super chat here. We got our buddy David West chiming in with, I can probably guess that Dan is in hiding. So Dan is our wayward caller who makes a lot of stupid comments and tries to promote his show, and he got kicked off for about a month. We don't need to hear from Dan for a while.
Yeah, we don't put up with that shit, man. I don't even know who he is, quite frankly. Okay. I did it. I cut the tag off.
Oh, okay. Well, whatever you wanted to do.
We're all here for it. Look at that. The sleeve says Florida sideways. Good stuff, ain't it?
So you go on this show, you hang out in the chat, you go back and forth with this dude, and he throws you like bets you can't lose. Meaning if you lose a big deal, you just have to do something stupid.
Both of my granddaughters are in soccer, right? And he sent me a Grand Mertz professional jersey, and he sent me a Lagway team jersey. And I ordered them extra large. And then I sent them to my kid and told him they're for his daughters. And they put them on, and they're like dresses. They come down to their ankles, you know? They're so happy. They watch Florida football with my kid, my granddaughters. They're all Gators. And they're both basketball and soccer players. They're like 7 and 10, my granddaughters. But they understand the significance of sports and cheering for a team. And then I sent my kid another Lagway jersey. Those are all from that guy in Florida, that Florida State man that you should, man.
Yeah, let's pick him up.
Yeah. He's sponsoring his show by accident in the YouTube super chat thing. If he was sending that money through PayPal, Coop would be getting 100% of it. But he's doing it live on YouTube. You follow me?
I hear you.
YouTube must love him. My God. I'm going to tell him. I talked to him. I have his phone number. I'm going to tell him if he ever does that for you, send the money through PayPal and you'll put up a sign for him that says he donated.
I'm glad you brought that up, George. I got to do that because every so often I do have somebody show up on PayPal or Venmo or something, and I got to give them credit. So I'm going to run some kind of scroll.
You need to figure it out technologically, like how to put up a banner.
There's a way to do that. I think you need OBS to do that.
Just tell Jackson, he'll do it. And if Jackson can't do it, Will sure as hell can. And if Will doesn't know how to do it, he knows somebody that does. So,
yes, I'm going to do that. That'll be ready for our next show.
Right. Number one fan. It's not about how much you comment like I do, which is kind of cool. It's about who donates the most. Number one fan.
Well, no,
it's like you're not selling your soul. It's a totally commercial enterprise, whoever donates the most.
Well, whatever everyone can do, which reminds me, I think I'm going to pull together we're going to do a live stream here in the next couple of weeks and talk about Patreon and YouTube membership and ideas that people want to see if we can grow our membership.
I don't know how to do this because I'm getting old. I'm 65 now, and I have Instagram and TikTok, and I blocked Facebook, except I have it on some other device I have because sometimes my kids will send me a picture. But this is overwhelming. It's too much, man. It's too many platforms, too many ways of doing things. It's like, it's just wrong. There should be one right way to do it. It should be like, if you want to donate money, do it on PayPal or Patreon. And if you want to make a comment, do it on YouTube. And if you want to do something else, do it on Instagram. And if you we need a set of rules, man.
It is a bit much. I just opened a TikTok.
It really is. TikTok's a fucking trip, man. It blows my mind. I can't look. I only use TikTok for commercial law. You understand what I said? Commercial law, right? I can't find none of it anywhere else on the internet. But on TikTok, they'll give you like a 5-year college education in 30 seconds. They list all the codes and cite the sites, and it's like a 30-second thing, and you take screenshots of it, and it's like, I just graduated from Harvard. I don't know where else they do that. Instagram, a little bit like that. YouTube, none of it, So it's to each his own.
Well, George, we actually have another caller.
Oh, yeah. You want me to hang up?
I appreciate you being here, man.
All right. I'm not going anywhere. I'm just going to hang up. I'll still be in the chat.
You know that you're right at the top.
Hey, did I show you my shirt?
I noticed that. I think I noticed that.
Later.
Enjoy your merch.
Okay, I'm going to try to hang up. Later.
Hey, George. All right, we're going to keep it rolling here at the Voice of College Football and remind everyone that we've got an Iowa State show over on the Iowa State channel, of course. That makes sense. Tuesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 Central. Levi Stevenson stopping by to talk some college football with us.
Absolutely. How's it going, Mark?
Doing well. How are you?
Not too bad, actually. Just trying to brace down for some heavy weather coming through here in a little bit. But
Oh boy.
yeah, there's like tornado warnings all throughout the upper Midwest tonight. So it's gonna be something. But I figured, since we're talking about the best coaches in college football, I feel like we can't really have that conversation without having one Mr. Matt Campbell involved in here.
Oh, if we're going to go through the coaches. So you saw part of my coaching list, and again, I
saw part of it. Yeah, I just
off season's coach. So I have yet to adjust for this season. So that was last season's list. So that is before 10-3 and trip to the Big 12 championship.
Sure, yeah.
Or 11-3, and yes, the championship game appearance. So that will obviously serve him well.
Yeah, well, and actually, because the one on there I noticed that you had in your top 10 was Kyle Whittingham at Utah, which I think is an interesting one because I think he's widely respected. I respect Kyle Whittingham quite a lot. I think most people do. They had a really tough year last year, and the prospectus for the 2025 season is not much better, if at all better. And it's interesting because I saw your comment on there that Utah may start running the Big 12. And it's funny how things change in just a year's time. Is that now? I mean, Utah was at the bottom of the conference this past year with no hope of rising, and this year is probably going to be rough too. Rough still. And now that BYU is out here flexing their NIL power a little bit, especially on the basketball side, that it might be kind of tough sledding for Utah going forward. A much tougher sledding for Utah going forward than I think a lot of people thought too. So that's an interesting case. So not necessarily that Kyle Whittingham doesn't need to, isn't worthy of being in that conversation in the top 10. Cause I think he's earned that up to this point. Just the comments under his name specifically were interesting because it's a totally different world we lived in.
Sure. Things do change dramatically. Mike Norvell changed dramatically.
Yeah,
Mike Gundy. Now, the longer your tenure and the longer your track record, the less one season, in my opinion, should be taken into consideration. If you got a 3-year coaching record and then all of a sudden, boom, you go 2-10, that's different than being Mike Gundy.
For sure. Yeah.
Who's doing what he's doing. And that's the other tricky. It's almost like when I rank, the coaches versus what resources they have. Not everyone's this is not a NFL ranking where everybody's got basically the same resources.
Right. Yeah. Not everybody's on the same playing field.
No, not at all. And then what I also wrestle with, Levi, is that I want this to be an in the moment ranking. I don't want this to have anything to do with legacy, meaning if we were at the sunset of Bobby Bowden and Joe Paterno's tenure, I wouldn't be ranking them the best coaches.
Right.
They might be like 30.
All time you have to put them in the top 5.
But I'm trying to make it just an in the moment ranking. But you can't just rank them based on last season. You have to give some kind of context.
Yeah.
And I guess the answer to my own question when I do this, when I rank either programs or coaches, is how much of the past is still in the present?
Yeah. So where's the cutoff? Where's the cutoff for what falls off at the end? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's an interesting one because I think there's a lot of coaches where I think I look at Bill Snyder is a great one towards the end of his career at Kansas State, his second stint at Kansas State. They were in the early 2010s with Colin Klein and stuff like that. They were, an excellent football program, and they were never bad under Bill Snyder. But, and I think, when he was there, Bill Snyder was widely regarded as, top 5, top 10 coach in college football. I don't think that was even a question mark. But you look towards the end, his last, 5-ish years, 5 to 6 years, they were fine. They weren't bad. They were fine, but they weren't what they were, early 2010s with Colin Klein, or even back like in the late 90s when you had like Michael Bishop and all those guys or whatever. They kind of went through the ebbs and flows. So it's kind of it's an interesting where where's that cutoff, and I think the cutoff has to be like you said, how in college we're not all talking about the same resources, then the same platform to start off of. So I think you have to also take that into account when you're talking about where's the cutoff, where it starts falling off a little bit at. Like, I think like if you're looking at someone like, one end of the spectrum, which is like Ryan Day, Kirby Smart, where you're at the very top end, what Kirby Smart did 5 years ago maybe 5 years is probably still in the window, but like, let's say you get to 10 years and, what Kirby's, if in a couple years, Kirby Smart's, winning somehow, they're only winning 4 or 5 games a year, whatever it is, something has, gone terribly, terribly wrong. Him winning a title a few years ago isn't going to mean going to mean that much. Whereas at a place, like Iowa State or whatever, if Matt Campbell, Matt Campbell can pretty much stay as long as he wants to. It would take a significant streak of losing for him to, to be in trouble, I think. So it's kind of I think you still have to apply the school expectations a little bit to, where your track record, where your legacy drops off as far as like power rankings like this go. Cause, Ohio State and Georgia have the resources to rebuild and win titles year in, year out type of thing. So like the expectation for recency, I think, has to be higher just because they have so much more to work with than, a G5 school or something like that. Or, like Cincinnati when Luke Fickell was there. Like you can't measure Luke Fickell at Cincinnati the same way you can, Josh Heupel at Tennessee, I don't think.
Absolutely. We got Levi Stevenson here stopping by. SB Nation is his platform where he is running the Iowa State.
Can I address some of the comments in here?
Wide right.
I've seen a couple comments in here about Matt Campbell like going to bigger schools and stuff like that. It's an interesting point because we get, as an Iowa State person, we get this all the time, every offseason. Not like calling anybody out, but it's an interesting one. So Jim says like he's going to be tough to keep at Iowa State. Most people don't realize this. Do you know what year, Mark? What year of Matt Campbell's tenure were at Iowa State?
Was his first year 2015 or 16?
16 was the first season. So we're in year 9 of Matt Campbell.
Yeah.
If it was going to be an issue keeping Matt Campbell around, I don't think he would be here 9 years.
2025 is going to be his 10th year.
2020. Well, yeah. So 2016, he got here in December of 2015. So he'll have been in the building for a decade this fall. And then 2026 will be his 10th football season coaching Iowa State.
2016 through 25 is 10 football seasons. This will be his 10th football season. Count them up. Yeah. 16 through 25 is 10 football seasons.
He got here in
9 years.
He got here in December. He took the job December of 2015 before the 2016 season. 16,
17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. 10 football seasons.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah. So he'll okay, yeah. So anyways, he's been here for a decade. But like, so that's kind of, it's an interesting point to bring up about like trying to hang on to him and stuff like that, is like, he's been at, I would say, for a decade now, and he's only 43, 44, maybe. I mean, he was a very young coach when he got to Iowa State. He's still young by all coaching metrics and stuff like that. But like, it's an interesting thing, especially because now with the landscape changing so much, we're not seeing the same upward velocity on coaches that we used to. Coaches aren't just job hopping every year like they used to. There were some guys that did that, especially in basketball, that you see that even a little bit more. But football, there was that spurt there, in the 2010 to, I would say, about 2020, really that decade, I would say, is where you saw lots of coaches that every year they'll jump up if they can just scratch and claw one little tiny rung in the ladder higher. We saw that. We're not seeing that nearly as much now, especially going from like a Big 12 school to an SEC or school or something like that, where there's a lot of coaches now. Edward in the chat is exactly like Gundy. Mike Gundy's a great example of this. He could have left anytime he wanted to go to a bigger program, and he has stuck around. Some Oklahoma State fans would argue he's maybe stuck around a little too long, but it's, Oklahoma State's one of the winningest programs in college football over the last 2 decades. You don't really get to kick that guy out the door, even if he's being a pain in the butt. There's lots of guys that are having opportunities to go places now. Like, I'm sure Kenny Dillingham probably fielded some interest after this past season with Arizona State. I'm sure he will continue to do that. Jumping up from G5 to P5 or P4 now is one thing, but like you don't really see guys kind of scratching and clawing within the P5 to jump up ladders so much anymore. There are exceptions. Obviously, Kalen DeBoer came to, left a playoff team to come to a different playoff team. Even though you probably could make a very good case that Alabama's a pretty big step up from Washington in terms of playoff contenders. But for the most part, you don't see that same upward velocity as you used to. So, and right now, when you have revenue sharing coming on board, lots of things are starting to slow down as far as decision making. And I know it because it seems like things are moving a lot because of the transfer portal and guys are jumping in and all this time, wherever. But that's because we're kind of in this last year of this totally Wild West NIL transfer portal thing. When we go to the revenue sharing, I think it will slow down quite a bit. And I think the coaching changes will slow down quite a bit. So it's an interesting thing. Pitt Snipe Husker wants to know who's the Boone Pickens names. The answer is there isn't one. There are some wealthy donors in the ag industry, especially, but there isn't some oil baron that's worth, $20 billion that can just, chuck out $100 million on a whim. I would say it doesn't really have that. It's a very blue collar fan base. That's okay. We like to raise our NIL money through bake sales and stuff. And that's fun. It's fun, wholesome. It's a good time.
This is another component I like to look at with these coaches because and especially with the coaching fraternity being much younger than it was just a few years ago. Like I rattled off like how many guys have left the sport just the last 5 or 6 years. It's, and that's why I think it's a weaker list than it's been in a long, long time.
Yeah, it's tough when you have guys like Saban and them leave, where you have like older guys that were at the top of the list and they just retire. It's kind of like when in college, on a team, when you have like a group of really accomplished seniors, they leave and then all of a sudden the new guys got to come in and they fill in behind, and in that gap you have a little bit of a void where it feels weaker than it is, but it's really just kind of guys working up, I think.
So, in speaking of Matt Campbell and the great things he's done at Iowa State, and on a different level, look at Dabo Swinney, who's carved out obviously one of the great coaching legacies in history, but he's done it at one place.
Right.
I give a nod to guys. Now, you can't force guys to move around and show that they can do it at multiple places, but the guy who can go to it could be he proved that he didn't just land at the right spot and that he can adapt to different administrations, different locations, different resources, that whole thing. Like an Urban Meyer, Utah, Florida, Ohio State, wherever he steps on campus, they win.
Yeah. There's multiple ways you can look at it, like where you can say, well, like Urban Meyer winning national titles and stuff like that in multiple places. That's obviously very impressive. Obviously, personal life, coaching life have to be separate with Urban Meyer. Yes. But, undeniably one of the better coaching legacies of all time, especially of the last few decades. No denying that. And then, on the other opposite end of the spectrum, look at a guy like Bill Snyder, who took Kansas State from, the worst, somehow worse than the Iowa State historically, Power 5 football team, and took them into being Kansas State, who is now a widely respected football program, even under different coaches and stuff like that. So, which is more impressive? I don't know. It just kind of depends on how you want to look at it and how you want to, what criteria you want to set up for that. I think they take different skill sets too. A program builder versus, someone like a Saban, where he's taking over a big program and turning them into full on dominance. That doesn't diminish what Nick Saban did or anything like that, obviously. But, what he did at LSU and Alabama and stuff like that are different than what Bill Snyder did at Kansas State or what Matt Campbell's doing at Iowa State or whatever. It's two different things, and they take, different skill sets and all that. And we've seen guys that can do both. But how you want to measure the best coaches is kind of up to your own criteria. If you're going off of legacy or off of the resume, then sure, you want to look at national titles and things like that. But sometimes the best coaches aren't on the best teams. They don't always coach the highest profile teams. Exactly. So how you want to measure that is kind of, up to your own criteria, and basketball is the same way too, where,
An interesting thing we've got going on this season, And as soon as you mentioned Bill Snyder, I thought of this because I may produce a video on this. But we've got Rich Rodriguez, second stint at West Virginia. Scott Frost, second stint at UCF. And am I missing somebody else? No, I think that's
those are the two that went back for sure.
Yeah. So when you mentioned Bill Snyder, yes, did a fine job the second stint, but the second stint did not compare to the first stint. And you can go through Bill Walsh, John Robinson, Johnny Majors, a lot of head coaches who went back for a second stint, and nobody ever reaches the first tenure status. It just doesn't happen. So,
as far as a peak, you mean?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I mean, that's probably a fair assessment. The specific to Bill Snyder, he built it from dirt the first time.
Sure.
And then the second time he was building off of his own legacy, essentially. Yeah. So that's kind of an odd, I don't know, an odd circumstance wherever that's a little bit unique. But yeah, I mean, going back is not always successful. I will be very curious about Rich Rod, since he has not been at West Virginia for quite some time. It's not like Scott Frost, where he left a few years ago and now he's just coming back type of thing. I mean, Rich Rod's been out of West Virginia since 2011, 2010, somewhere in there.
2007 was his last year there.
Really? It was 2007?
Yeah, 07 was the whole year with the crazy.
Oh, yeah, because yeah, sure, yeah. That was his last year.
Game. Yeah,
that was when he went to Michigan. That was when he went to Michigan. Yeah,
yep.
yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
because then Dana Holgerson was after that. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, he hasn't been at West Virginia for a very long time, and you could argue that when he was at West Virginia, what he was trying to do was ahead of his time, and it is more fitting of what is around college football now. But what he was doing at that time was unique, and it was hard to stop. What he was doing in 2007 now is not really all that unique. Oregon's been running it for 15 years. Lots of the book is out on how to deal with that kind of offense, when it was kind of novel at the time when he was running it. So not that he can't be good. West Virginia is historically a good football program. We got to see what they can look like in the future. Minnie's got a question here. Who I think is top three? Good question. So let's set our parameters. How are we gonna? I guess it's my top three. I can set my own parameters. So if you're gonna go off of like kind of legacy and resume stuff like that, I think you can't not have Kirby Smart in there. And I think even if you're just talking about overall acumen, Kirby Smart's probably in there. I think that's a very safe inclusion. Let's see. I think Dabo, his legacy puts him in there. I think I'm questioning if he is built for the NIL era and the revenue sharing era, just because of the way he is, his mentality, how his idea of how college football should be. I kind of question if he's future proof, but his legacy is unquestionable. This is a tough one because there's a few guys like. I don't think even though he just won a title, I don't know if you can put Ryan Day in the top three, just because he's struggled a lot with Michigan, and he's at Ohio State, which it's about as far ahead as you can get on resources. This is a tough one. For legacy, I think Kirby Smart, Dabo Swinney, and I don't know who the third one is now. It's a good question. I guess maybe it's Ryan Day, just because he just won a title, and Harbaugh's gone, Saban's gone.
See, to me, those are the only three guys that you can justify being number one. Like, I'm not saying Dabo's number one for sure, or Kirby, or Ryan Day, but I think those are the only three guys.
Those are three that are eligible to be number one. I think Kirby Smart is a safe one. I think Kirby Smart is a safe one.
Yes.
Dabo and Ryan Day.
Kirby's the combo of Dabo and Day in regards to dominant over the course of his tenure and still on top.
If you want to, so if you were going to start a program, like if you were going to start an average Power 5 program tomorrow, and not with Ohio State's resources, let's say, pick a Power 5 program that's got like a fine footing, but nothing like outrageous. Pick, I don't know, Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State's great. Let's start with Oklahoma State. Let's say everything's all neutral. You were picking, and Oklahoma State's got to hire a coach tomorrow, and they can pick anybody or whatever. Or maybe not say maybe say anybody. You know, Kirby Smart would be up there. I think if you were trying to future-proof your program, I mean, I think a guy like Kenny Dillingham wouldn't be the worst choice.
Yeah.
I mean, Matt Campbell, I'm biased, so I'm going to leave Matt Campbell out of it, but I think Matt Campbell would be a very obvious choice if you're future-proofing your program.
Matt Campbell actually may be the pick that's between a Dillingham, where he's been amazing, but
it's a very small sample size. Yeah.
And Kirby, who's
established,
haul,
right.
But at a Georgia, where Matt Campbell has shown he did it at a very similar school.
So maybe he's your combination of exciting young coach and established and somewhat established resume. So maybe Matt Campbell is your sweet spot. Like I said, I'm trying not to include him because I know I have a bias there, but
I'll include him. That's where I
there
went.
You go. So if you're future proofing your program, I really do think like Matt Campbell, Kenny Dillingham, I think are great names for this. I'm not 100% sold on Cignetti at Indiana. I'd have to see it. That's another very tiny resume. But I mean, as he would love to tell you, he's won places. I mean, he's another exciting. I don't know if he's that young, but he's another exciting kind of new face to the conversation. Gosh, I think those. If I was starting a new program and had to hire a new coach, and I wanted to feel like my program was on the right trajectory and have stability for the next decade or two, I think those are the three names I would start with.
One thing about Dabo, and I didn't take a side on this whole Dabo, the transfer portal, is he outdated? Is the game passed him by? I didn't really take a side. I just said it doesn't look good. His program's in slight decline and has been since Trevor Lawrence walked off campus.
Right.
But now I don't know that we're not going to continue to see crazy scenarios like we saw starting with the UNLV quarterback last year who quits 4 games into the season. And then obviously Nico a couple weeks ago. And the more this happens, the one guy in the one marquee place where it seems as though he has safeguarded his program against such zaniness is Dabo Swinney. And while he is not picking up players in the transfer portal, he is also not losing anybody. He's basically, at least, the returns are very early, and this is a big season for him to reestablish himself as a great program, because they're supposed to be that good this year, but he's not working the transfer portal. They're doing a little bit now.
Sure.
But he also doesn't lose anyone. He doesn't lose players.
Honestly, not losing your best players is just as good as getting a good player. So maybe and arguably better. So it's there's something to be said for hanging on to your guys. I mean, Iowa State's Matt Campbell's done a great job with that too. And like there's a number of programs you can tell where a program is as culture wise and just how stable the program is. I think a lot of times by how many people are willing to leave in the transfer portal. Especially for when you talk about NIL and stuff like that. It's interesting, Dabo Swinney is a very interesting case to watch going forward, because his rhetoric, the things he says in press conferences and stuff like that, leads me to believe that he is not a future-proof coach, or a coach that will just get tired of this current era of college football and just say, I don't want to do this anymore, and pull the parachute. I think that's entirely possible. But if he decides to modernize and embrace just what this is, you don't have to like it, but I mean, it's adapt or die. So, I mean, if he embraces it and learns to deal with it, I mean, you have to be willing to put some money down on Dabo just because of his track record. And because Clemson is a school that's in a good recruiting bed, they have a good profile. It's a well established program that has prestige and can get high end recruits. There's a good foundation there. It's not like he was winning a title at a play, it's not like he like that one or 2 years there with Scott Satterfield had Louisville at a top 5 program because he had an all-world quarterback, and then all of a sudden just falls off the face of the earth. Clemson has a foundation that they can stay good at they can stay good forever as long as the coach is willing to help them be good forever. So, that's really my only question with Dabo is he going to be willing to adapt to this new world of college football?
And one thing I don't like about the Kirby Smart situation is keeping track of 105 football players who have all the indulgences available to them that they always have, but now they got money in their pocket. I get how difficult that is.
Yeah.
However, with Kirby Smart, with 25 serious driving violations,
that is if there's a knock on Kirby Smart, it's that his guys can't stay out of trouble.
You're making $13 million a year. And I understand that you're not, trained in emotional intelligence and all the things, that go into that, but you're paid as a CEO to figure that out and bring people in that can figure it out. You got to do something.
It's confusing to me that this has still continued to be a problem. Like, I realize that these guys are getting paid. I mean, some of these guys are getting paid like they're already drafted in the NFL, and they're essentially, especially at places like Ohio State and Georgia and all this, like they're basically professional football players at this point. I mean, in all but name. And so I understand that he's, in the end, they're adults that are responsible for themselves. However, he is the coach of a team of guys that are 18 to 22, 23 years old. And he is in charge of keeping these guys pointed in the right direction. And at a certain point, he's got to step up and say, this, no more, this is done, and get that fixed, because right now that stuff is literally the only knock there is on Kirby Smart as a program CEO in college football, is that right now he can't keep his guys out of trouble. And it's not affecting anything on the field right now, but at some point it might be a star player, and it might be in the middle of a season, and it might cost him a game. And then that's, there's a whole thing. It's, where that issue goes beyond just college football wins and losses and what happens on the football field. A lot of the times it's these guys have their own issues that have to be dealt with and stuff like that too. So it's not just taking care of your team and making sure you have all your guys to win football games. It's also taking care of these guys like they're your own kids. I mean, again, I'll just use this because this is what I'm most familiar with. But like when Matt Campbell is talking about recruiting and things like that, he talks about guys and treats them like they are literally his children in the building, like that it is his personal responsibility to make sure that not only do they become the best they can be as football players, but as human beings, and to be productive adults outside of college football and after they're done playing sports and all this, to use the NCAA's a long overused tagline. But at a certain point, Kirby has to look at that and say, we've got to get this under control, because there are clearly guys that are having their own issues or whatever it is, or they're just irresponsible or whatever it is, on an individual basis. And if we can fix this, not only will it make our team better, make our culture better, but it will help these guys as individuals after football, whether that's when they're done at Georgia or when after a long NFL career, maybe it'll help them in the NFL. I don't know. It's a weird situation for a guy that is otherwise has a almost spotless record at Georgia.
If you enjoyed the conversation with Levi, you can catch him each and every Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 Central, where it counts there in Ames, Iowa, Iowa State Live. You can find it right here. Boom. Voice of College Football. You see it on the screen right there. Mm-hmm. And Levi, as I mentioned to you the last couple of weeks, I see all these people flocking on Twitter. You get nice numbers on Twitter. Hopefully they can find you on YouTube.
We're doing our best to get them redirected over there, but we've established a good weekly audience across platforms anyways.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's good.
So
yeah, if anybody likes this kind of conversation,
yeah,
come check it out on Tuesdays.
There it is, folks, with Levi, Tuesdays, 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 Central, on the Iowa State channel. Levi, good to see you. Thanks for dropping in, man.
Yeah, good to see you too.
Again, that's our Iowa State show with Levi, and you see Tuesdays at 8 Eastern and 7 Central. And while we're in the promotion game here, folks, okay, that's interesting. I don't know what that means. So we'll try it this way. We'll get there, folks. You can make a difference here at the Voice of College Football. Use the Amazon link. Financially contribute to the Voice of College Football without spending a penny. Same shopping experience. It's easy. Go to any video on any channel. Go to the description section and grab the link right next to the capital letters that say Amazon. Use that link, and Amazon will instantaneously convert to your account, settings, history, everything intact, just like whatever link you use right now. No difference. Pay no attention to the product that you see right there. Just go search what you want. Don't forget the Amazon link. Thank you for your support. Sincerely, the Voice of College Football. Listen to that guy. The Amazon link's in the description section down below. Our recruiting and portal show that we do with Leanne Herring each and every week is Wednesday, 8:30 Eastern. The banner's correct. Wednesday at 8:30 Eastern, Leanne Herring and myself talking transfer portal and recruiting. So please join us then. And Tukey G has decided. Why Tukey G again? It was Tukey G the first week. Then we took a poll the second week. And then, boom, turned out to be Tukey G again because he responded first. So Tukey G says Friday at 11 a.m. or 11 p.m. Eastern time for a late night call-in show. Although somebody chimed in right after that and said 10. I think it was I Bleed Orange once at 10. Guess I'll make the determination that night. YouTube's telling us that only 30 people are watching, and my StreamYard says like 80. So we don't know if people are watching on Facebook and Twitter, which is fine, but we would love to have you right here on YouTube at the Voice of College Football. All right. I got a meeting at 6, got one at 7:30, another one at 8. We're working hard here at the Voice of College Football, and we will see you Tuesday at 4 Eastern. Bring those comments and questions. We'll be working on our coaches' rankings this week. So what you saw today was 2024. Coaches' rankings will be adjusted and presented sometime this week right here at the Voice of College Football. Great to see everyone. Thank you for the contributions that you gave us in any such way. Please hit the like button on your way out. And yes, hit the like button. Thank you for that. Is the link working, meaning the Amazon link? I sure hope it is. It has. Certainly let me know if it's not, but we test it from time to time and make sure that it's still working and still applicable. And folks, again, it's the same exact shopping experience for you. Doesn't cost you a penny. Let's say you spend $100 at Amazon. Why send them $100? Send the Voice of College Football 5 or 6. There you go. Amazon links in the description section. And as you saw on the video, as soon as you click on it, it automatically recognizes you, your account. It's like you clicking on the link that you use now. We're back here for the College Football Show at Tuesday at 4 Eastern. Thanks for being here.